Welcome to PC Gamer Radio. I'm your host Lipstickpaddy, and today we're going to be talking about Chris Roberts. Now, this is the original pitch video, which I'm just going to show you. Now then, this is going to be, these words will resonate still. They said I was dead. They said I was dead. What do you think the pronoun is here? I. Who is the I? Can you guess what I is? PC gaming. That's what the I meant. I've been a PC gamer since 1996. I can remember my first Orchid graphics card. Oh, 3D gaming on the PC. I've been always blown away by the first PC that I ever saw in 1991 when I went round to my friend's house. Back then it was the era of the Mega Drive. And PC gaming has always been the brute monster of a machine that could always play games better, increase frame rate, increase resolution, etc. But there was a time 12 years ago when a lot of us were very, very concerned, and I mean the PC gaming community at large, or writ large, were getting very, very concerned. In the back of our minds 12 years ago, everybody was still angry with the fact that Bungie was bought up by Microsoft, because for years we had so many previews of Halo coming to the PC, going to be an incredible PC game, and then Microsoft swooped in and made it an exclusive on Xbox. That angered me for many years, and in fact only this year have I played through the Halo series because it was on Game Pass. That's another story. We were getting console games coming over to PC, and they were rotten to the core. The phrase console-itis, meaning this game is sick, it's ill, it's got the sickness of console-itis, was basically a game coming over to PC with terrible frame rate. How can it run worse on a PC? This is the terrible port. It's got console-itis. Oh my god. It's true. Even EA, the powerhouse that they were, used to bring out FIFA football on PC. That was a completely different version than the consoles. Like, it was like a kick in the teeth. The reasoning was they believed that the average PC was like a laptop PC. That a normal PC didn't have a graphics card. That was basically the industry looking at PC and not realizing the PC gaming marketplace that a lot of us were so enthusiastic for, and we were left in the dark by all the big publishers. It was a horrible time. If you've only got console, imagine you've got an Xbox and the PlayStation 6 comes out, and the Switch 2 comes out, the Switch 3 comes out, the PlayStation 7 comes out, and you're left with your Xbox X wondering what is going on. All these new games aren't coming out on my platform. That is exactly what it was 12 years ago. So when these words come up, they were speaking to everybody in the PC gaming community. Let's rock on. Yes, the consoles were the future. Maybe did break into the gaming scene, didn't it? A lot of money is made on mobile, but tablets, no. Yeah, people saying PC gaming were dead. Everybody would agree with this. It's been greatly exaggerating. It is not dead at all. we can see our graphics cards through our windows in our cases. We've got a beast here waiting to get used. Now here we go. I am a PC game. Whew. Now, 12 years later, there is talk of, you know, Squadron 42 going to consoles. I think everybody would agree that it should go to consoles, and that possibly is going to be after it comes out on PC. I'm not quite sure. Once they've got Vulkan in, they can certainly tune it for the consoles, and a lot of people go, how can you play it with all the buttons and keys? Just put an Xbox controller in and try playing it with the Xbox controller. You'd be surprised at how many keys you can play Star Citizen with, honestly. Anyway, Squadron is going to be much more streamlined, I would say, regarding that. So I've got no worries that it can go over to console. You know, even if it has to go with compromised graphics. You know, because when Vulkan comes in the next patch on the Star Citizen, obviously Squadron 42 is exclusively on Vulkan. It can use upscaling. Star Citizen have their own internal upscaling that they can use for consoles. I think it's going to be a incredible game. In fact, I wouldn't mind if it actually gets a console and PC release simultaneous, actually. I think it would be great for the whole gaming community to get behind this game, and just for the fact that it's so innovative, immersive, long campaign, Hollywood actors, it's got that mainstream appeal. Now, space sims were a dead genre, and really it's only because this Kickstarter was so big that it ended up pushing other sims out there. You know, EVE Online was still a niche MMO, and it certainly still is a niche MMO, especially with a $20 sub per month. It's like the most expensive subscription MMO on the market. Like, I'm pretty sure it used to be half. EVE Online, it used to be really good. Anyway, a $20 sub is like painful to pay that, it really is. And you know, you've got the X series, which was always space, and I think the Spaceborne, really good. But you know, if there wasn't this Kickstarter of Star Citizen, you may never have seen Starfield. And regardless of what you think of Starfield, I still think it was an entertaining prospect, and you know that Bethesda will have a second bite of the cherry when Starfield 2 comes out in a decade or whatever it's going to be. But whatever it is, this is a space sim. Now, before this video came on, it was Chris Roberts on the stage, and as soon as we saw Chris Roberts, everybody 12 years ago in the PC gaming community went, holy shit, it's Chris Roberts. Now, if I can give you some celebrity in the industry that probably would get you excited, would be if GDC came up and they're going to announce something new, and John Carmack, formerly of ID, came up on the stage. That would be so exciting. He's a huge gaming celebrity developer. He's working with Oculus, I think now, with Facebook, whatever group, the Meta group, working on VR. He's always had a thing for VR and rockets. But if he came back into PC gaming and he was going to do something, that would definitely be very, very exciting. Because what you need to understand is you need to think about a celebrity that's walked away from gaming completely and then come back in. Now, Chris Roberts went into the Hollywood and he produced, I think, 4 movies before coming back in. So when he came back in, it was so exciting because his previous games, Privateer and Wing Commander, were excellent. Wing Commander had a celebrity cast. this is what they're doing for Squadron. So as soon as we saw Chris Roberts doing a PC game, and it's a sim game, holy shit, this was like the most exciting news for years at the time, back 12 years ago. Actual game assets rendered in real time. This would be like a pre-rendered cutscene in, let's say, other AAA games, but this is in real time. Just epic. I think this ship, it's called the Bengal Carrier. It's, you know, this is 12 years old, but it is in Squadron 42, and it still has the same bridge, and it's still the kind of same shape. It's had a few updates, but the Bengal Carrier certainly is going to be featured at the beginning of Squadron 42. You know, because you're looking at this and you're just thinking, is this just an art asset that's kind of the showing off here? But it was like, as soon as they brought combat in, it was like, oh. Not a big fan of sizzle reels. Not a big fan of sizzle reels, but dude, did it look good. Look how good space looked back then. Look at the incredible effects and the lighting that's going on. In real time, this was like voodoo going on. And you know, back in the vision back then was to try and give you that experience of a pilot coming back into the carrier where you would be getting out of the ship.
Hi, I'm Chris Roberts. Ever since I saw Star Wars as a wide-eyed 8-year-old, I dreamt of being a hotshot pilot saving the galaxy, or a lovable...
Dude, Chris Roberts, man. I know it's took 12 years and we're not there yet. But it's, you know, if you've got a machine and you put keep putting dreams into the machine, you're going to get a dream game at the end. You know, everybody's saying it's a scam, there's no game, it's trash. Like, I see the same comments in football, right? You've got people, I'm a Manchester United fan, and you've got the club saying we're going to keep the managers to the end of the month, yet you've got the whole of the YouTubers saying the manager's going to get sacked, the manager's going to walk out. You've got all these haters basically. But no, if you've got kind of that historical remembrance of Chris Roberts' games and the fact that he's coming back to PC gaming, this was like an incredible moment in PC gaming's history.
Rogue making my way across the cosmos. It inspired me to make Wing Commander and has influenced everything I've done since then. 10 years ago, after 20 years of making games, I was burned out, so I took a break. But I never stopped playing games nor loving them. And now I'm ready to come back, and I'd like to show you something I've been working on. But I don't want to build any old game. I want to build a universe. I want to build a game I always wanted to build, but I didn't have the tools to do until now. One that you can fly off a carrier fighting a heroic war on the front lines, but also one that you can muster out and find your own fortune in the stars wherever your spaceship takes you. I want to be able to share this experience with my friends and fight against real opponents in space, not just AI. And I want this to be as good or better than any other game out there. And I want to actively push the boundaries of what you can do in a game.
Now he wants to push the boundaries of what you can do in a game. This is why it's took 12 years, and it's going to take more time. Basically, Chris's vision, even though it was a PC game, there was no engine on the market that could support his vision. They got CryEngine. They then got the upgrade from Lumberyard. They then had to customize that engine into the what is it called? The new engine that they basically got. It's the custom engine. And in short, I will basically tell you that most games are built within a grid system. You can normally, if you play the Uncharted series, you're kind of aware that all the levels are all centered around a cube that's so small, and they keep wrapping you around a carousel. But here they wanted the game to be bigger, so they went up to 32-bit, because most games were 16-bit in size, and we went to 32-bit, and then they realized that when it got to really big numbers, the computer kind of was having rounding errors, so they then had to jump up to 64-bit. These jumps from a 16-bit level to a 32-bit level to a 64-bit level are giant leaps in technology. People don't understand this giant leap. What that meant is all code going forward would be completely inherent to anything before. It all had to be written from the start. This idea of ripping up everything we know and having to rewrite it again because everything is bigger. You know, when you're creating something that's never been done before, it always takes longer. Look at the US Navy developing a new plane, a new stealth bomber. It takes years, 20 years for these things to go through. You look at the Google search engine, which took years and years and years to get where it is today. It took decades to get where it is today. You just don't realize that when you're creating something new on the market that's never been done before, it takes so much time. So for me, the fact that the game is still cooking is perfectly fine. And I'm completely fine with it still cooking, realizing the incredible achievement and the fact that they are shooting for the stars to bring a game out that is going to be unlike anything on the market.
None of this would have been even possible 2 years ago. But with Moore's Law driving PC performance and cost, and the gaming community embracing talented developers via crowdfunding, I believe it is possible today. I've never been accused of having a small vision, and so I thought it was best if I share my ambition with you visually. I'm pretty excited by how it's joined out, so why don't you come join me for a sneak peek?
Oh, that beautiful real-time lighting. I remember that 12 years ago just thinking, wow! You know, back then, 12 years ago, people were starting to talk about adding actual lights in games. It was called T&L, transform and lighting. This is what would it look like with 2 lights in the scene? What would it look like with 4? So kind of if you remember the journey of PC gaming, like every time there was new graphics cards, they were bringing new features to graphics, and T&L back then was definitely a highlight. And we can see an example of T&L here where there's one light source coming from the ship and it's affecting everything around it. Looks fantastic, but it's very costly.
Pretty excited by how it's joined out, so why don't you come join me for a sneak peek?
But it looks so good, doesn't it?
what I'm building, the Star Citizen and the Squadron 42 combination, you essentially have both things available to you. So Squadron 42 is the sort of single player experience where you are getting missions. You're in the military, so it's not that open world, because you're going to be going AWOL if you decide you want to go off to some other planet.
So when this was out, this video, this is at GDC, and during the talk they basically said it's on Kickstarter. It crashed Kickstarter. It crashed it. You simply couldn't go to Kickstarter. It was completely access failure. And this is the GDC. Like, how many people watch the GDC each year? But when people got wind that Chris Roberts was speaking, people started talking online. People started talking. Everyone's tuning in to Chris Roberts. And when he said, go to Kickstarter, the amount of people crashed the system. That's how big this event was.
So the idea of it is you serve a campaign, you fly missions, it's branching just like Wing Commander was, and you have exactly that Wing Commander experience.
Now, Chris is talking about branching, which is a branching storyline where the things you're doing are going to change the future. And we know from the Squadron 42, you can start a new game as a different character, right? So you'll be able to play male, you can play female, and you get to see two different paths because you'll realise where the branches are second time you play through it. So that's going to be fantastic. This is exactly what Mass Effect did, and it's great that we're seeing it here. And Chris Roberts already has it in his locker from previous games, so this is one of the things that he loves, is branching storylines. This is something that we're seeing in modern day Kickstarter board games, with the campaign games that have lots of branching storylines. But it comes from kind of old school RPGs from the 70s, but it's so good when it's put inside a video game.
With the added bonus of some multiplayer and your friends be able to sort of co-op play with you as wingman when you fly your missions. But when you finish your tour of duty, you muster out and you're in the wide universe, and then it's open world. You can go where you want, do what you want, choose who you want to be. And the other thing that's nice about this is you don't have to do Squadron 42. You can get into the Star Unit. You can basically decide you're never going to go fight in the military. You can decide that I'm just going to be a merchant, or I'm just going to be a pirate. I think what we're...
So yeah, when Chris is talking at GDC, he is talking Squadron 42 single-player campaign and the Persistent Universe. And when some people will say, oh, when the Kickstarter came out, no one was talking about the Persistent Universe. Nobody was talking about Squadron. I backed it because of Persistent Universe. I backed it because of Squadron. It's like they both were pitched. Definitely, 100% both pitched.
Talking about here has everything that made Wing Commander great, and has everything that made Privateer and Freelancer great. It basically has both things, and the single player sort of military campaign side sits inside this whole universe in a holistic fashion. The idea is that it should be dynamic. So I've talked about a sort of the universe being a living entity and something that's always changing, and it's going to change based on the player's actions. So things that players do will have an effect on the universe, and they'll also be able to become part of the universe. So a good example is, say, a player that's an explorer, and they explore around enough time, they find a space anomaly, and then they manage to navigate a jump. That jump point and the system that they've jumped into will get named after that player. So like that player becomes part of the history and lore of the universe. And on top of that...
This is Chris as a visionary. Now, he obviously is still pushing Dreams through the machine to try and get the Dream game out. And I think in all my time on the planet, the only visionary outside Chris Roberts is George Lucas with Star Wars. A guy that is controlling everything as a visionary at the top and having a huge control of what's going on. Like, even Obsidian doing Star Wars The Old Republic, George Lucas one day went to the studio and made them do changes on the game, and he's not even part of the development of the game. But because he holds the license, the visionary came down into the studio and forced them to do some changes. This is kind of what the visionary is all about. And if you even look at human history, you don't get many people like this that are so beholden to their design. So really, in the space of video games, Chris Roberts is the only visionary maker out there. And the fact that this guy has over 1,000 employees creating the next generation game that no other game developer out there would even touch, because even from the beginning you would know that it would be a very, very expensive project to finance. So yeah, I've got to thank all those whales that have, been buying big ships.
We're going to be dynamically adding content to these universes. I'm not interested in having yearly updates. We'll have a team of people that are adding content on a weekly, every 2 weeks basis. So you're starting this system and you're starting the game and it's got 50 star systems, for instance, and 2 weeks in, a jump point's discovered for another system and someone navigates it and bam, we've got a...
Now this idea of the 50 systems and you're exploring stuff, I just want to say that during the 12 years, they were looking at using AI and using procedural technology. But what they found over 12 years is that when you use procedural technology, it looks terrible, doesn't it? It does look terrible. And the one thing that most people would say they hate about an MMO is going in a place that they know they've been in here and I know the exact layout, even though it's different place. And this has obviously been a change. So this concept of having all these procedural generated planets and stuff, a bit something what Starfield did. They simply said, no, we need to handcraft it. Basically, all the landing places need to be custom, and we're just going to design it out. And that's a huge W for the game. A huge W that they're doing this. And it's going to be... I was over the moon when I knew they were kind of dropping it, and I knew they were going to just handcraft this stuff, because at the end of the day, if you want this game to be the next generation, then it should really be led with artists and not this procedural generation. And procedural generation is like a old school AI. It's not this deep learning AI that we're seeing in today's world. It's kind of the old world AI. And so yeah, and that in itself takes a lot of time.
51st system and so on.
Oh, immersion. This is going to be the first thing that jumps at people when they play Squadron 42, because it's dripping with immersion. This is like, peeps, I'm going to turn the lights off. I'm going to make sure I'm going to enjoy this experience on my own. I've got my 2 flight sticks ready to roll, keyboard and mouse at the ready, and my gamepad when I'm driving a boat. With the incredible music that they have for the game, the incredible cast, and the immersive factor of no loading screens, keeping you grounded in the world, is going to be so different.
So one thing I think you'll all be very excited about is the level of fidelity in space, the graphical detail and the immersion, because it's to a level that I've never been able to achieve before. I'm trying to build a world and that it's so detailed and has...
Need some anti-aliasing 12 years ago. You got some flickering.
I've been able to achieve before. I'm trying to build a world and that it's so detailed.
DLSS! Come on, we need some upscaling techniques!
detailed and has such great texture that you forget that it's a game, which is always my goal when I'm building games. Texture that you forget that it's a game, which is always my goal when I'm building.
Yes, look, he is using an Xbox controller here. Do you know, I have an Xbox controller, one of these black ones from 12 years ago, and it's still going strong, baby! My son got an Xbox, and an Xbox X Digital is basically a Game Pass machine. And he's on his 3rd joypad. Those Xbox X wireless things are a joke. I've got a PC gaming Xbox controller with a 3-meter wire, and it still lasted 12 years, Microsoft! What's this wireless shite you doing? He's now got a third party wired controller. That's officially, it's officially an official controller from Microsoft, even though it's like a Sonic thing that he has. Anyway, that one's much stronger. Cables for the win, people. Big W for cables.
Games. I'll just climb into the cockpit of the fighter, and as you can see, as we're sort of climbing in, there's a huge amount of detail in the cockpit, because one of the biggest keys for me in the next game I'm building is I really want.
Now, we've not seen this in the Persistent Universe yet. We saw it at some sitcoms a few years ago. But the point is that on the ship, it's not just an art asset per se. There's all these buttons actually have a job to do. And you're going to need to look around the cockpit to actually press these buttons. And when you press it, the first-person actor that you are is going to touch those buttons before what you want. So if you want to turn on the ship and you press A, you then got to wait for the person to go and press that button.
I want to have that immersion to be complete, and we're going to do a lot of things that will really push that. Everything inside the cockpit operates and moves and works. If I look around the cockpit, you can see the displays, my hands on the throttle, my hands on the joystick. The whole idea is we're immersed.
And I expect this to happen in Squadron 42, where all the digital displays that you're seeing are actually doing stuff. So it's not just a JPEG. They actually are addressing a system of the ship that you're looking at. And we've seen that on the I Held the Line Squadron 42 trailer from 2 years ago, when you saw it was like basically the captain of the ship was walking around the bridge, and you could see the officers at the screens, and they were scrolling between different pages. So there was actually some diametric data coming from these screens. So basically, when you're looking at all these instruments around the ship, they're all basically live feed information coming from the ship. So they're making that ship feel like it's alive. It's a character of itself, what you just strapped into it. Everything here is working like you would expect, and pushing that immersion factor.
Just fully in a cockpit that's fully rendered in 3D. So if you issue a command, you hit a button, you'll actually see your character doing the cockpit. It's all for the immersion. Well, I think immersion is really important for me, because I think that you have to really visualize and create a very believable world. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I always sort of really push the visual fidelity, is because I think that helps with the immersiveness. And the more immersive, the more connected you are to the experience. The more connected you are to the experience, I think the more fun the game itself will be. So an example of that is, if we're looking around at our character, we can see that the character himself is about 100,000 faces, which is about 10 times the detail of most current day AAA games. Are about 10,000 faces or so, and so that just allows you to have a little extra detail. The wires on his pilot outfit, the creases in the uniform, and have it really stand up when you come in close, and not break down because it's too pixely.
Now, it's good though that Chris is talking about fashions and stuff, because he really wants them to look amazing. And we've had many sitcoms over the years where the character is like putting on a jacket or something, and he always says, this is something that will get fixed, and because he hates clothing in games where you magically teleport a clothing outfit on top of yourself and
up when you come in close, and not break down because it's too pixely.
So basically, this is why you need a visionary at the top, where when he says No. When you're putting that jacket on, I want to see you physically put it on like you would in real life. Like, no studio across the world is demanding such stupidity. That's so stupid. It'll cost so much energy and time and money for something that's so small in the game. But for Chris Roberts, no, it's hugely important. For the immersion. And this is what Chris is like. Every detail of immersion. If something happens that reminds him that it's a cheat, he will simply say no. It needs to be done properly. And that's what you get with a visionary at the top, is to kind of make these decisions for the good of the game. And every time one of these decisions is made, it just adds to the development time.
So I'm really excited about the physics, and they're going to be strong.
Very excited that you're playing the game on an Xbox controller, yes. Is it going to come to consoles? 100%. Question is when.
Long part of the gameplay, so let me demonstrate some of the features of how the physics interacts with how you control. The ship itself is built and designed and simulated like a real ship. So there's 4 thrusters on the bottom, and there's 4 thrusters on the top, and then of course there's obviously the engine at the back. And there's 4 thrusters on the top, and then of course there's obviously the engine at the back.
Now, coming to the PU soon, TM is going to be planetary controlled surfaces, where when you come into a planet, you've suddenly got different physics than in space, and you've actually got to use the flaps on your ship and its thrusters more to actually help you fly in that condition. And the recent news from the PU is that they're getting through the ships. They're trying to get every ship working in atmosphere holistically before they bring it to the PU. But in Squadron 42, they have limited ships that they can get it. And I'm pretty sure that the Squadron 42 ships are all going to have control surfaces in a planet. That's going to be spectacular as well, just for the immersion depth of and that just means that when you get into a ship and you're flying outside of a planet, you can't just face up. Yes.
Most of the ships in this universe are going to fly very much like an F-35 would do. They're fly-by-wire, so they take your input as a pilot and crunch it into trajectories and vectors it needs to tell the various thrusters to achieve what you've asked it to do. So if I want to rotate, or I want to, say if I want to pitch, like I'm doing now, or I'm going to yaw, or I'm going to roll.
Oh, it just looks so good, doesn't it? You know, how many times have you been rotating a vehicle and it doesn't appear to be actually affecting the physics, or the vehicle isn't speaking to you of what it's doing? But here there's so much character to the ship where you actually see its thrusters. It looks so good even now, 12 years ago.
It actually polls the thrusters themselves and says how quickly can you rotate to the position I need you to deliver thrust, and how much thrust can you deliver, and the thrusters talk back to the flight computer and says, okay, I can get you there in 0.1 of a millisecond, and I give you this much thrust. The whole system is dynamically doing that every single frame and flying that way. It's really cool because what happens is a lot of unexpected or dynamic behavior happens by it. And then, for instance, if we're flying around in a dogfight, one of our thrusters gets damaged, it will affect our maneuverability. And it's not a matter of changing a script or data, it's actually all dynamically simulated in the system. Here's a really great example.
So basically, Chris is basically playing some music to all our PC gaming ears. It's like, this sounds phenomenal.
Of the level of scale, I'm going to walk out this corridor and out onto the flight deck. And as you can see, it's huge. The carrier that's in the prototype level is about 1 kilometer in size. It's full of activity and spaceships and people. So one of the things that I'm the most excited by the technology we've been working on is the ability to scale. So we have detail for scale at a human level. So
yeah, the scale in the game is all to the metric system, so everything's scaled to a meter. And this is something that has, when developers move to CIG to start working on the game, this is something that they've never seen before, is the scale. It's like, are you serious? We're using the actual scale of humans to the meter? It's because if you want everything grounded in the world, then this is how you have to go. Just remember, you've got a 64-bit wide solar system. It loads the whole solar system in.
Well, our character's about 1.8 meters in size. Then the same level of detail for a fighter craft that you'll fly, or a bigger craft, which, say this fighter craft is 27 meters in size.
Look how big the Bengal is.
I'm building a game and a universe that's essentially the universe in the game I would like to play. So it's for gamers like myself. So I wouldn't say that I'm a social, casual gamer that plays Farmville. I mean, I like sophisticated experiences. Well, I'm picking PC over console because PC was what I always used to do in the past, but more importantly, it's because PC is an open platform. PC is always constantly innovating. I really care about the PC. I really want to push the PC to the limit. I think it's a great gaming platform. I'm really actually quite sad and angry about the situation right now, where it sort of feels like, PC games and PC gamers don't get any respect. It's the medium that is the coolest and the most powerful, and that's really why I'm focused on PC. We're going to allow...
Yeah, so this is, got a visionary at the top, PC enthusiast, massively respects the platform. That's why it's been an incredible, innovative project where every single bit of the game is innovating. That is going to be something that's going to blow people away.
Users to design some spaceships and build them and submit them, and if it passes the standards, then it can get sold in the ship dealers on certain planets, and maybe the person that built that spaceship will be earning money from other players that think that spaceship's cool and want to pay them for it. So one of the things that I like about crowdfunding is cutting out the politics and the noise of the big publisher, and you're dealing directly with the people that want to experience the game that you're making. So one of my main goals whenever I make a game is to really immerse you in the world and universe. And I think you've seen that on what we've been even trying on the website today, and this visual prototype is a demonstration of the direction that I want to take and will be taking. With today's technology, I can do that to a level that I never could have done when I was making Wing Commander all those years ago, or even...
And with today's technology and the physics, we can have planets, real planets that rotate with weather systems. This is why it's not like it's feature creep. It's the fact that technology has become so good on PC that it is blowing Chris's mind of what he could put in the game. That's why the game has taken such long, because it's like, imagine if the game had that, it would be so next generation. Like
freelancer 10 years ago, and it's actually really exciting. I feel like I can do something that has the fidelity of a film, but real time, and I'm in it, and that is my dream. My name is Chris Roberts.
Yeah, the legend! Please, Chris, we want Hollywood or movie stars in Star Citizen, the PU, as quest givers. You've done it in Squadron. Please bring actors over for the guild system. I know he's trying to make a next generation MMO. That's something he needs, in my opinion. Chris, thank you so much. Thank you for watching, peeps. This is why Chris Roberts pulled in so much attention and why we still trust the process, because it's so much of an ambitious title. You might say it's like the most extreme design ever in PC or gaming in its lifetime. So there we go, peeps. Chris Roberts, he's a visionary at the top, and following updates in graphics which have changed the game and made it something it's going to be fantastic when we get Squadron 42 next year. And I'll keep you console people in my prayers that it comes to console as well. Because to be honest, his games really need to get to all the serious gamers out there. So thank you so much for watching, peeps. That's why Chris Roberts I still trust. Why he keeps changing his mind, because things just are going to make things better. And don't get hung up by dates that he says or any words that he says like 70 star systems, because we know procedural tech is poo-poo. So on top, yeah, keep your comments down below. What do you think of Chris Roberts? Are you in the boat like me with GDC back 12 years ago when Kickstarter crashed? Are you from the beginning? It'd be nice to hear your voice down below, and let me know how you are you excited for Squadron 42? Because for me, it's gonna be one of those gaming moments that are gonna be nothing's gonna eclipse. Alright, peeps, thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Lipstickpaddy. This is PCGamer Radio. You take care, stay safe. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the verse.
Well, thanks for watching. And if you remember, you can please subscribe and like the video. And don't remember, you can also hit the bell for notices on the channel. Yeah, we've also got a Twitter you can see on our banner, so check that out too. So take care and bye-bye.